how
That
I
sounds
came into
perfect,
human design.
actually.
It didn't make a whole lot of sense to my mind at the time, but there's that something higher that I learned to trust. It was just like, you need to keep reading here. That's what I follow most of my life, is that something higher.
Welcome to the Human Design Projectors Society podcast. I'm your host, Zet Harbor. Join me as we explore and dive deeply into the brilliance, the beauty, and the power of what it is to be a projector. Kristen, thank you so much for joining the Human Design Projectors Society podcast today. I'm so excited to explore your chart with you. And I'd love it if you feel inspired to share a little bit about yourself with our viewers.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited. And I am a coach for tired, frustrated entrepreneurs who want to get back into inspired flow, which once we're in flow, we earn more money, we grow our businesses with more ease, and we're generally happier in our lives. So that's what I do professionally. And profession and personal life tend to weave together quite a bit for me. So I'm creative. I have a lot of fun. I'm a stick figure artist, which is that's been a really whimsical addition to my life and now my career.
That's exciting. Yeah, I would love to see some of that stick figure art and explore more of what that looks like and means. We're going to jump right in then, and I will share your chart as well as initially, I do like to just give the guest and whoever's watching a chance to see my chart because it helps you understand the lens through which I'm viewing this. I'm a 3/6 profile, so I am going to experiment and have the capacity to offer objective perspectives where correctly recognized and invited. And I'm a self-projected projector, so speaking is really how I discover what's correct for me. And so you can see I have a G, a throat, and a defined ajna. And what's going to be fun, Kristen, is you and I share these two channels, and I'm excited to hear your experience of those as well. I wonder, though, if you would start a little bit by telling us, when did you get introduced to human design? And when you learned that you were a projector, what happened for you when that happened?
I learned I was a projector around 10 years ago when I had come upon the realization that I would like to get married. And I was not in a relationship at that time. I was just like, I'm ready for partnership. And a friend of mine was studying human design, and she's like, let me do your chart and we'll be able to figure out who you go best with. And she told me I was a projector and that I would go well with generators. And what I know now, 10 years later, is she wasn't very studied. And this maybe wasn't the best advice for me, but I didn't know any different. And yeah, and I actually attracted my husband in 3 weeks, and he and I realized we'd be married within a week. There was a quick turnaround, and I lost track of human design for a couple years until I attracted a friend who she's a generator, and we were cooking together, and she'd be like, oh, you do that because you're a mental projector. Oh, that happens because you're a projector. Oh, and I learn when people throw out little bits like that. And I said, how about I'll buy you the book about this and you can teach me more? She's like, wonderful. The book arrived the day after she had visited me. So I opened the package and I started reading the book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so me. And she never got the book. So that's how
That
I
sounds
came
perfect,
into
actually.
it. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to my mind at the time, but there's that something higher that I learned to trust. It was just like, you need to keep reading here. That's what I follow most of my life, is that something higher. So there's what my mind says, and then there's the extra, and I follow the extra, and that tends to guide me to the most interesting destinations.
Oh, I love that story. And as projectors, we are correctly, when we decide to dive in and study a system, particularly, and dive in deeply, that's really correct for us. So, how lovely that life very serendipitously brought that to you, right? you ordered the book for someone else, which is also probably a projector thing to do, right? and it was really the correct thing for you. And yeah, thanks for mentioning that you are a mental projector. And for anyone who isn't aware, that means that there is no definition below the throat. So you have no motors defined. You do not have the splenic or the G center defined. And love to hear a little bit from you too about your experience as a mental projector. It's the way you're going to come to clarity, the way you're going to access your wisdom, which I love how you described it's up here, is through talking to a wide variety of people, or perhaps just a variety of people. You can tell me what your experience has been. And it's in, at least it's described as sensing what's in the environment every time you speak to someone different. That informs you. So please share some of that for us.
When I understood that the way I make decisions is through environment, is how I think of it, is it made so much sense. When I've always chosen my Airbnbs just by how they feel, and ones that look good but don't feel right, I don't choose. And I've never had a bad Airbnb. I internet dated that way. I could feel these humans before I connected with them, which kept me out of a lot of sticky situations. Mm-hmm. It really works for me. It also explains why I can't force myself into places that don't feel right and situations that don't feel right. And if I do, there are consequences.
Absolutely. Wow. And great awareness on your part to have that sensitivity to connect to that awareness. All of the openness, particularly below the throat, certainly the head center being completely open as well, but all your wisdom is in all of the openness, right? So the head center, as well as all the motors and the G and the splenic. So that receptivity is where you're here to become wise about life, right? Wonderful. Yes.
I see myself as a house of open windows. When I share this with my clients, I don't deep dive with them. That hasn't been where I've been led to study, but I understand the basics pretty well. And I say, when you have all the white areas, that's like open windows to a house and other energies float through. And they're like, oh, that's really worked for me. And then I'm like, oh, I've got 2 closed windows. And those are my asana and my throat. And they're really powerful. And they're not necessarily right. It's just they're powerful.
That's an amazing observation. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like there will be other projectors, especially mental projectors, who really resonate with what you've just shared there. It leads me to your profile as a 4/6, that first 30 years of an unconscious, living an unconscious third line life. And now being in that on the roof time right now. What would you like to share with us about being a 4/6?
So 4/6 opportunist role model. I recognize that anywhere I go, I tend to be a role model. And if I'm not when I first arrive, by the time they've invited me to speak, I am again. And it's interesting. I've been putting myself in, let's say, rooms of people recently where they are my role models in terms of business. And I really admire all that they have to share and their perspectives, because I don't work corporate. They typically have. And it's a whole different mindset. And it's, ooh, cool. I don't want to be there, but I love knowing all the information. The opportunistic part of me, it's like I go out and I'll meet people everywhere I go. And it's just like, ooh, cool. Ooh, this thing. And it's interesting and exciting. And the way that the product I published last year called Standing in the Question, the way that came to be was I was on a walk and a friend that I hadn't seen in 2 years. Oh, hey, hi, you live in my neighborhood? And she asked me what I was working on, and I was illustrating a story with stick figures. And she really got interested in this thing. And I'm like, do you want to see it? And she came over and I said, I'm like, it's just a 5-minute story. I'll show you. She stayed for an hour and a half and had two of the biggest realizations of her life. So and she's like, can I buy it? And in my mind, this wasn't a product. This was a fun story that I had drawn because it was my story and it helped me. And it from her, I could see, oh my goodness, this could take me, this could be the answer to what's next in my career. Funny thing is that she's also a projector, but not a mental projector. But something about our combined energy gave me 2 years worth of motivation to get this thing in order and published out in the world. And as soon as she bought it, all the energy went away. and and I've been finding my way with other invitations since then. So
That's
opportunity knocks, there's connection, and then poof, sometimes.
what a good combination. You're describing the fourth line experience as well as projectors with our time-bound invitations, right? They always have a limit. They don't just start and go on forever. So really great observations and awareness there. Thank you. I wanted to pop over briefly to see that your motivation is the second color, which is hope. And I don't know if do you spend a lot of time with that motivational aspect of your
I don't
design?
know much about that, so I would love to learn more.
Yeah, so for someone with the hope motivation, what I have learned, and I'll just clarify for everyone that I am not a certified analyst in human design. I am a student who's completing the first year of analyst training, and I've done the foundation training as well. I'm here from a place of innocence and that third line, willing to try anything and see what comes out of it. But with the second line, the color hope, your motivation is about inspiring hope in others. There's a description of it as sitting by a river, just knowing that something is going to come flowing right by, and it's possible even when other people can't possibly imagine it. And
That's the
that brings.
foundation of my whole career and my life. Yes.
Oh, wait. All right. This is awesome because Ra is very clear in not, it doesn't really appear in the definitive book, I believe, but he speaks about the importance of projectors specifically, reflectors as well, but for us, projectors, to know our motivation and to be able to use it as a discerning tool. So we get invitations all the time, right? We get recognized, we get invited. Who doesn't want a super slave? Come on. Right? The way for us to discern, is this the correct invitation for me, Ra says, is about whether it supports you in staying aligned with your motivation. He also says that transference is inevitable and not a bad thing. It's just that for projectors, this discerning tool is really valuable for us in saying, is this a correct invitation for me or not? Or has the invitation ended because the motivation no longer feels correct? And I wonder if you recognize that, because I sense in your story, particularly about the book project, that you were being inspiring during the context of that invitation to do that book with this other person and even with yourself. And then when that person was inspired and that job was done or that invitation ended, it sounded like the energy shifted in a way away from it. Tell me more what you think about it.
That was a really long question. Can you summarize it for me?
I think just in your story about this book project, I really hear that while it was creating hope and inspiration for another, it was a correct invitation for you.
Oh,
And
it's
then,
definitely correct. Yeah.
and then when that job was done, the energy changed, right?
Yep. Most definitely did. And to clarify, it's not a book. It's a card deck that you
Oh,
actually, let's use this one.
I'd love it if you'd show us some. Honestly, I was going to ask you to send me some PDFs or PNGs so I could post them with the video,
Okay.
but show
So,
us now.
yeah, I'll just show you now. And if you want more PDFs, that's fine. I'm tickled to death because I've learned how wonderful it is to see my art and have it have a real purpose from that structure point. So this is the box standing in the question. It's a navigational tool. And what it does is it shows a map from being stuck to getting unstuck in 33 illustrations. It starts with my main character. His name is Frank. He came to me named Frank. This wasn't my idea. And Frank go be really stuck, like he had a question. And no matter what he did, he couldn't find the solution. Which, how many of us can identify with that?
I know, right?
Like in life, there's always something that we get stuck and we can't find the solution. And it's going back to my motivation, which is hope. Of course, I was in that situation. After I got married, I married a manifesting generator. And we both share a lot of definition in the ajna and the throat. And then he's got everything else too. And in that time of my life, I'm like, ooh, he's got a lot of energy and he's not using it. So I'm going to use it, because I knew at that time, I didn't know enough about projector, but I knew that I tapped into energy sources. It burnt me out real quick. And I got sick and I didn't know how to get better. And that launched my journey. Oh, and then there's a little guidebook and illustrated. It's the most fun thing ever. But you deal out all these cards and they tell a story, and then it looks like a map. So you can pick where you are on the map to getting unstuck, and then you can go know what's next to help yourself move along.
Wow. Talk about inspiring hope. And so I would love to include a link to your website or wherever it is that they can find this. We'll put that in the episode description, the video description on YouTube. Yeah, that's such a wonderful embodiment, physical expression of your motivation to bring hope and to be inspiring to others. And mental projectors, at least my sense of what I've learned is mental projectors are the guides, even of the guides. Like, you have the capacity to be an advisor who guides even more, I think, maybe in sort of intensity or density even than projectors. All projectors are here to be advisor who can guide, but mental projectors, you're here to even guide us. Does that resonate for you?
Oh yeah. I'm a teacher for the teachers and a coach for the coaches, and just owning that. That's one of the things, finding that I'm a projector. Just, I think I heard all your other interviewees say this in their published interviews too. It helped me feel okay about me. I'm a house of open windows. I can ground all I want and still take on other people's stuff and not know that it's not mine for a while. I get it now. And it just is like, this is the way I'm built. I don't know, like, I work with business owners, right? Because they're the leaders. So I can support the leaders in leading better. And like many projectors, I've wanted to be a manifesting generator and do it that way. And what I finally came to terms with is the way that my business can be prosperous or successful is to support the big business people. And
Which is
like,
correct.
I don't have to burn myself out in order to be good in business. Oh my gosh. And I relaunched myself this year as a coach, because the first half of my career, I worked more like a generator and I burnt myself out in so many ways. So now I'm really running the projector experiment. How can I stay in my element and in my energy and my joy, and be seen and invited into the right situations for me?
Amen and high five. Absolutely, 100%. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Thanks for capturing that for us and expressing in a way that I believe any projector listening will recognize. And frankly, if you're not a projector, but you have them in your life, please recognize us correctly, and we are the way we're meant to be. And that really is the purpose of this podcast, is to support each projector in doing what you're describing you've already done, which is, hey, this is actually who I am. I don't have to try to be who I'm not, because that is something we've all absorbed our entire lives up to this day, right? Up to the day we discover our human design. And that's natural and normal, but it's not how we have to be forever. Let's dive in a little bit. So we both have the same earth and sun. And so, as you mentioned, that's a channel of structuring, a design of individuality from genius to freak. I'd love to hear how it felt when you first heard that. And then we'll dive into the different gates. How did it feel when you heard that genius to freak description?
Once again, it made sense. I identify with the word weird. I am weird. I haven't always viewed it positively, but my husband reminds me all the time, I am weird. And once again, that's a perspective. And also, I'm a genius with the people who get it. My husband is not my target market. And I keep reminding myself of that. But the people who get what I do, it's beyond mind every time. They show up next to me or in front of me, and they're like, what do you do? And I'll say it, and I can tell they don't get it, but they want to work with me. And then my job after that is to give them a physical representation that makes sense to their mind, that helps them have confidence that we will actually get where they want to go. So it's been interesting as a projector to naturally attract people to connect with me, but to recognize that the mind of a client often still needs fed, or the mind of a potential friend or associate or whatever. So getting my words refined, that in a way that, like, the shine of me continues to have a channel to connect with them. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. So let's pop open that personality sun, because that is the shine of you, right? That's the light you're here to bring into the world. It's your radiance, it's your creativity. And it's gate 23, splitting apart, the gate of assimilation, amorality, the awareness and understanding that leads to acceptance of diversity. You have the fourth line, which is called fragmentation, and it carries the quality of diversification without a perceived potential for synthesis. Now, often Ra's words feel like you've just filled your mouth with marbles, and it can be really hard to digest what that means. But so diversification, right? Making things diverse, even if perhaps, or if there is no perceived potential for some way synthesizing. So perhaps all of the things that a client brings to you, all of the issues or experiences or memories or skills or gifts that they bring, all that diversity is something you can pull together, even if there isn't this perceived potential for synthesis, perhaps.
Always.
Okay.
Always. Yes.
Great. Because you have this defined, consistent capacity for awareness and understanding that leads to the acceptance of diversity. So you will help them accept all of their diversity, right? Because you're doing it.
Yeah. I help them see how it fits together. I've always thought of that as just being able to see the big vision, or put it like, once I see all the pieces, it's like this connects to this, that connects to this, and oh, you don't get it that way? Well, let's reconnect it in other ways because it still makes sense. But yeah, all right.
Yes, and this channel, as we know, it's individual, so it's these are these really unique, inspired insights that just pop out of nowhere. They're realizations, oh, I have this idea, and the capacity to express it. So your personality earth, which is how you will ground and balance your light, is called gate 43, breakthrough the gate of insight. For achievement to be maintained, a new order must be fairly established. Line 4, the one-track mind. There's a long paragraph there. I won't read the whole thing, but perhaps there is the word stubborn a couple of times. Mental abilities might be an element there. And stubborn reliance on one's unique insights that demands focused mental ability to be properly. So what's really amazing is that as a mental projector, the way you're an outer authority for people is through your mental ability to properly conceptualize, right? These unique insights. So I'm curious if the phrase one track mind brings anything up for you.
Yep. I forget that others think differently than me. My husband is guaranteed to remind me, so that's been helpful. But it's just, it makes so much sense in the ways that I think about things that unless I leave the house and go mingle with people who are not like me, I just forget. It's not that I disagree. I just forget that there's other ways to think or that people don't get it. And like when I mentioned the coaches earlier that I've been hanging out with, that, oh, okay, this is a whole different take on this profession. Okay, how does that work?
Yes, because for those of us who have the defined ajna, I know I'm really resonating with what you're saying because it never occurred to me that a human could exist who did not have a fixed, reliable way of processing information. I'm like, what?
Yes.
Do you mean you can think this way one day and think a different way another day? Are you crazy? Anyway.
Neither one of us is emotional authority either, which that just every once in a while I'll be with like my husband's emotional authority. I've had to really stretch to let that breathe in my environment because it's oh my gosh, those are distracting, those things are called emotion.
Oh my goodness. Yes, there's a lot of, it's messy. Emotions are messy, right? For sure. And I feel really fortunate that my younger daughter is an emotional authority projector because she's 23 this year in human design. I introduced it to her 3.5 years ago. Our previous connection really helped me make room for the messiness of the emotional wave because I'd already observed it in her. And I understood right away that I had been trying to parent her or coach her to be a self-projected authority.
Oh, yeah.
We can't know that there are other ways of being until we start looking at charts, right? So
I'm talking to people and paying attention, but I'll tell you the structure of human design helps me all kinds of ways because I see maps, I see connections, and it's and every once in a while when I need to go a level deeper, something will come into my life and I will. But it's the map for me that it's like, oh, I know you better now because I've seen your chart. I don't have to understand
100%.
everything, just enough.
Yes, and I wonder if, because to me, we share this channel as well, the channel of acceptance, the gate 17 to 62, which brings energy from our ajna also to our throat. And it is logical, it's collective. We're looking for logical patterns. It's a design of an organizational being just in itself. There's this capacity to see all the little bits and organize it in a logical way that actually creates a pattern that will be really supportive of people having a better future or the collective in experiencing future success. So I hear a little bit of that in what you've just described. I'd love to hear your take on this channel of acceptance, organizational being.
So So acceptance doesn't have to do with accepting other people in all the ways that they are. It has to do with being organized.
That's a really great question. I think that with Ra's language choices, it's never clear immediately whether he's speaking to the not self or speaking to the true self. Sometimes he chooses words that will trigger the not self, right? And I think for me, if I check in with that, it's like, this part of me does not want to accept other people's patterns because they're messy or disorganized or they're not logical, right? And so perhaps this channel is preventing me from accepting when in fact it's the acceptance that gives me access to the power of the strengths of the channel.
So, like, I like to organize things. And in terms of other people's organizational systems, recognizing that whatever they're doing is working for them in some way, shape, or form, whether I think it's healthy or effective or not.
Mhm.
And it's helped me a lot to step back and say, I'm thinking of a family member with so much mental health stuff that a lot of labels and categories, but it's just step back. They're doing life the way their organizational system is inspiring them to do it.
Mhm.
And yes, it drives me nuts, but I will keep stepping back and hold space for that organizational system to to be the thing for them until they're ready to shift. And I that's like holding space for others is a big deal because I cannot get into a system that is chaotic and expect myself to come out feeling okay.
Beautifully expressed. And it does pull me right back to your personality, sun, that acceptance of diversity, the
Mm.
awareness and understanding that you're describing, and the amorality. You're not making someone a bad person because they're different from you, right? And the exaltations and detriments are, in this case, for line 4, they both exist because the sun is activated as well as the earth. And so there is the potential with this particular quality in your chart for individual expression, which has no collective value, or, or
Yeah.
individual expression, which engenders isolation and fear, perhaps.
That
So,
hasn't happened, but that I'm aware.
yeah, no. And
Those, yeah, actually, yes, some people who are very locked into particularly a religious system find me confronting just by me being me.
okay, so it's not engendering isolation and fear in you, perhaps, because it even says atheism and paranoia, right? Potentially. And it's true because any collective or even tribes, they really have a hard time with the individuality, the individual circuitry. And this particular channel, boy, it's a potent, because stuff pops out that has no interest in holding up any sort of like status quo or preconceived notions if the empowering insights demand that we share them in a way that is going to be empowering to others, right? And then, yeah, in combination with this very logical channel of acceptance, I can hear your mind taking these awarenesses and realizations that are about individual empowerment and diversity and accepting them because they can be ordered in a way that feels like it's going to be a pattern that's successful moving forward.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. All right. So those are your two channels. Um, I'm curious about your moon in gate 56. Is that something you would want to spend a little time with, or?
If you tell me about it, sure. I don't know what is it about, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay. Let's open your moon, which is activated by gate 56, line 2. Gate 56 is a gate of the throat center. It's the wanderer, the gate of stimulation. The tagline here, the subtitle is stability through movement, the perception of continuity through the linking of short-term activity. Again, mouthful of marbles. We would have to unpack that to really explore what that might feel like. Line 2 has the quality of linkage. And in this case, because it is the moon, it has the detriment activated here, which is a gift for communicating, but not enough depth. And if we choose to not have a value judgment about the words not enough, right? Because
Yeah.
that's where our minds go, oh my God, not enough depth. That's bad. Is it?
It
We
just
don't know.
depends on who you're talking to. I've problem solved that a lot. I wrote a blog for a wellness company for, I think, 4 years, where they paid me to write blogs. And from the beginning of that, I was so stressed to make sure I documented everything and provided step 1, step 2, step 3, and here this is reference and this is reference and this is reference. And by the end of the 4 years, I'm like, eh. What I have to say is enough. Maybe I'll provide a reference. They can work it out if it's for them to read. And it was cool to watch myself go from that fear of not providing, of not being believed, because I hadn't provided referencing or depth, to being like, I've gone deep enough. And if they can't put the pieces together themselves, then that's someone else's job. Because I've seen others just delight in providing references. That is their fun thing. It's not my fun thing.
Yeah, that providing references does remind me more of what a first line, either profile or activation, would carry with it. And this is a second line, which is that hermit energy. It's the natural genius, it's natural talents, but they must be called correctly from you for the most part, right? And the other element you have that you called my awareness to is gate 48 is the gate of depth. So it makes sense that, especially with your conscious Pluto in there, that there would be a part of you that would feel like, of course, we have to go into depth.
And what I realize is I'm already deeper than most people. It's just whether our depth is the same.
Correct. Because
Value.
one of the fears of this gate is fear of inadequacy. And that results sometimes in feeling like you have to have all the details to be.
Yes. Oh, yeah. All of it.
To not be inadequate.
I want to go back to the Wanderer, though, because
yes,
even the movement, the moon, because the gate of stimulation, going back to the blogging, I covered any topic that my little whimsical heart wanted to do. They didn't care. And it made me so happy. And also, yeah, whatever I felt like doing, I could do. And the invitation was an open invitation. And also, so my husband was just spent some time in the hospital, and we got to explore our perceptions of being in the hospital as I supported him. And he's okay. So that's not what I'm bringing up here. But it drives me nuts to sit in a chair for 5 hours and sit in a room in the container of a hospital, which, as diverse as things are there, it feels monotone to me. Mm-hmm. My wanderer self wants to be out in different environments, sampling. It wants to be outside in this area, outside in that area, this store, that store, back at home to recharge, and then all over again. Whereas my husband was like, I like this environment. This feels great. I could work here because it feels, there's so many interesting things to do within this system. And it was such a great picture for me of our differences and how we can each be happy. I call myself a free range person.
I love that.
And
tying it to the wanderer, this gate of, and the moon's influence on our inner lives is akin to the moon's influence on the planet, right? The waters of the planet, they're literally pulled back and forth by the moon. That's an enormous influence. So I like to think of our moon also having that quality of influence on our inner tides, right?
That's fun to think about. I know that I identify with the energy of the new moon rather than the full moon. Mm-hmm. That's where my husband and I meet, actually, is that receptivity. But yeah, there is the wandering nature and the moon cycles. I've just clicked into that wisdom recently, recognizing, wait a second, I could get energy from the moon cycles. And it's time for me to lean into the cosmic support system as opposed to trying to find a human-made system that could support me long term. So that's been a wonderful realization just in the past year of, oh, the cosmos is here to support me. Let me lean into that and see what happens. Things are better now.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Very beautiful. Very powerful. So exciting to be able to open ourselves up to, and especially I think with your completely open head center, you have unlimited, unconstrained, just there's no restriction to the kinds of things that you can experience as inspiration or ideas or thoughts, because again, your windows aren't just open. You don't have windows in this part of the house, right?
That's about right.
So that's such a gift with a completely open head center. I have an undefined head center with the gate 61. So this is like a little hook that, as far as those thoughts or concepts or realizations, they're always going to get hooked on that first. It's like a little something on your sweater. Oh, grab me. Beautiful. Lovely. We are getting close to our time here. I wonder if there's anything else that you spot here that you would like to open up and explore for a few minutes.
Oh, interesting.
There's so much. Honestly, we could do this for like 3 days, but
I'm sure. It helped a lot when you brought up what was interesting to you for this.
I'll tell you what, before we even move on, I just saw something. I don't know why, of course, I didn't see it before, but in terms of the 2 channels and the 1 gate, so Earth and Sun, the 17 is your south node, the 62 is your unconscious Mars. So there's a lot of vitality and dynamic energy with Mars. And then the moon, look at the energy flowing right in this tiny space. You've got a real powerhouse here, right? It's like a hydrogen fuel cell, and it's all condensed and it's all really intense in terms of who you're here to be. Because for those who are watching who may not know, this top layer of these 4 personality and 4 design boxes, they make up 70% of who you are. And so the Mars is the only thing it's not in the top. They call it the magic square. I think I've heard it referred to. Still, Mars is one of the inner planets, so it's a powerful influence, and Mars has a lot of vitality and energy, and particularly, I think, unconsciously, it's just going to come out of nowhere. And because it is aligned for, it resonates with your profile of 4-6. So it will be an energy that's really going to be like easy for you to just allow it to add to the flow of who you are. And that is 62 is the preponderance of the small, the gate of details, having the caution, patience, and detail that produce excellence out of limitation. And I definitely feel like I've heard that in you describing your work, and certainly the resource you've created, the card deck system that produces excellence out of limitation, because you were cautious, you were patient, and you paid attention to detail, right?
Yeah, and honestly, the whole process called standing the question. If you were available for your answer, you would have it right now when you are asking a question. But if you've been in that question, so if you've had a problem for a long time, you've been asking the same question and you're not getting your answers and results, then you're probably waiting to go on the journey of discovery, which does take patience, and there's layers. And that's what I hold the light high as people are going on that journey, whether for health or for business. And I think it's fun. It's fun after I see the light as I go. It's not fun necessarily to go through it, but it helps when you have a map and a support system.
Yeah, beautifully expressed. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like that is certainly, having such similar elements in our designs, I can feel that very much resonate in my body. Thank you for joining me today and for being willing to just journey through this beautiful landscape that is your design, is your identity, and sharing your own experience of these different places in you. Something I have realized as I've done these is that provided it feels correct for each guest, I would love to have you back and for us to go even more deeply, right? There are good. There are so many ways to enter the human design. And so I think it would be really fascinating and rich for us. And of course, we both have gate 48. So we're like, depth? Yes.
When you're telling me about it, yes.
Yes. But to dive back in and find out more. And so whoever may be following these, like for them, they'll get the kind of where we start at the surface, and then they get to dive deeper as well. And as you probably already know, we projectors, we learn about ourselves through the other, or we discover ourselves through the other. And so anyone watching this, particularly a projector, has the opportunity to see themselves in what you're describing today, and what a gift that is to them. And for each of us as projectors to realize just how powerful, like to me, being a projector, it's even stated in the book, we have brilliance, we have a natural brilliance. And we can think of that as being incredibly genius or smart, or we can think of that as the light, right? This brilliance and this beauty and truly power as projectors. Even though so much of what we're told, particularly on the internet, is that projectors are powerless, right? No, we don't have a defined sacral. We don't have consistent and reliable access to life, energy, or generative force. Those are two different things. So thank you for being a part of helping to clarify the difference, right, between being a non-sacral being or a non-energy being and having power.
Yes, you're welcome, and thank you.
You're so welcome.